Installment. This is our in-depth coverage of Antonio AJ Armstrong Jr.'s trial. Prosecutors are trying to prove for the third time, the third trial, that AJ killed his mother and father, Don and Antonio Armstrong Sr. So there's a lot to understand in this case, and that is why we have journalists inside the courtroom every day, making sure that you don't miss anything in this historic trial. We want to check in now with two members of the bench team, KPRC's Rowan Belogan and investigative producer Jason Wynn. Guys, it has been a busy week, and you guys have sort of been there front row to see all of it. I understand that jurors finally got to see some evidence up close yesterday. Can you tell us what they saw?
Amy, you're no joke in there. It has been busy throughout this first week of trial. Jason made a note of it last night. He said it's like Houston traffic. It stops and goes. And really just before we break yesterday, it was going full steam because of those evidence that you're referencing, Amy, there that the jurors started to see. So I stepped out at that point to do our live shot. That's why we have multiple reporters and journalists inside the room of the courtroom there. Jason, you were there when things started with the evidence. What did you see?
Well, you know, they called up the CSI investigator from Houston Police. His name was Jimmy James. He's actually going to be right back up there on the 19th floor a little bit, in less than a half an hour, and he's going to be taking the stand answering more questions from prosecutors, and then he's going to get the cross from the defense. But most of it had to deal with the evidence that he collected the morning of those murders back in July of 2016.
And one of the things he did before I stepped out, we saw the prosecutor, John Jordan, put on some black gloves because he's touching the evidence. And so he was doing that. The one I saw before he left, he's showing the notes. This is the note that was found near the gun after the murders. It said something to the effect of, "I've been watching."
Yes.
And then a pillow. The pillow is going to be a big part today.
Well, right before the pillow, he actually showed the burnt out carpet where allegedly AJ set the carpet on fire a couple days or a week before the actual murders took place. He also kind of just walked us all the way through the home into the bedroom, and that's when we got to see some of the bullets that were stored in Mr. Armstrong's nightstand. He also showed us those pillows, and those pillows have a lot to play because, Rowan, it all goes back to opening statements.
And the pillows, we have to make note of this, the pillows have blood from Antonio Sr. and Don. The investigators said there's pillow on them after the murders. And that blood is important because just weeks before the trial, last June, it was delayed because an investigator found blood on AJ's sticker the night he was interviewed. And what defense is arguing is that blood was cross-contaminated from the pillow.
Yes, and it all goes like, and I think you said it best when Rick DeToto, he's the defense attorney, and we've got video of this box actually getting brought into the courtroom right before all of this went down. But Rick was using a little shaker to kind of show that, like, hey, you know, early on there was a prosecutor during the first trial that grabbed those pillows, and he didn't have gloves on. That's why John, I think, had the gloves on this time. And then he touched AJ's clothes. And when all of this started, right before the eve of the trial, John Jordan said something to the effect that he was shocked that this new evidence came out 7 years later and caused a month delay. And all of the jurors had to push everything back. This was the second delay, and that's how we kind of got to today. But the whole argument is that they found blood on the abrasive side of that sticker. Rick DeToto got a police officer to show the jury how they put the sticker on. He said, hey, there was no movement. It was sealed on top of him. He did so much so that he actually put another sticker on Rick, just like he did the night of, or the morning of, when AJ was taken down to the HPD headquarters. And just so you know, everybody that goes into HPD gets a visitor sticker. So that was there. So the big question was, they found 2 specks of blood on that abrasive side, and how did it get there?
And that's what the defense is arguing, that it was probably cross-contaminated with the pillow. So we're going to get Sergeant Jimmy James, who's going to start again this morning, and the defense, well, I believe prosecutors will continue before the defense has the time to cross them. An important point that happened before that investigator came up on the witness stand, we spent much of yesterday focused on the alarm system. And the day before. Focusing on the alarm system. The alarm system is critical because the Armstrong family and the defense argues that the alarm itself was finicky. It didn't always work. There were issues with it. when prosecutors claims the alarm system never went off, was never triggered the night of, alleging and claiming that must have meant someone inside the home committed the crime.
Yeah, so let's start off with Jason DaCosta. He was the guy that came in from Alarm.com. He's the senior vice president of the company, one of the senior vice presidents of the company. This was the second time that he's actually had to testify in court. I think he said something to the effect of he was in Columbus, Ohio the last time for an arson case. But he went out and said there's a lot of activity inside this home, that this was more like a commercial-like home with the amount of doors being open and closed. And the big question that the defense kept pointing out was, hey, when you were looking at these logs, you've got doors that are open, doors that could be open twice and not closed at all. And he showed that several times. And I believe DaCosta said those are rare occurrences that happen less than 1% of the time. But Chris Collins, the defense attorney, was able to show several times that actually happened within those logs.
And we want to clarify here, there are two alarm witnesses that are testifying.
Yes.
John DaCosta.
Jason.
Excuse me, Jason DaCosta. He's with Alarm.com. And the way that they're describing Alarm.com is like the software of it all. And then there's ADT. ADT, as many of us know, is the hardware. They're the ones who set up the equipment itself. So Alarm.com, he's the expert witness in all of this, who later explained, well, the occurrences, those rare occurrences that the defense got him to admit happened, he claims, because the signals weren't sent quick enough.
Yeah,
it's something with the signal when it went up into the cloud back to their system.
Yeah, it's kind of like a cell phone, right? And it's sending a text message. Sometimes you get text messages all at once, and I think that's what he was trying to describe. But, even Tim Rader, who was the ADT guy that was called up, he actually started talking about his software and how he believed that, or his hardware, and how he believed that it was all good. But when he went to go test the hardware, the two panels that run the whole thing weren't there.
And they were saying the power is out at the home when they went to try and do a walkthrough. This is a ADT witness there. But he then testified that shortly after the homicides itself, that someone with ADT did go to the home the next day or the days shortly after to investigate the system.
With homicide detectives.
With homicide
Yes.
detectives. But the defense caught him up. He said, so you didn't go. And he said, not me, myself, but one of our techs did.
And that employee no longer works with ADT. So there's a little bit of a question right there. But, let's circle all back, because it's all going to come out to Science Day. I mean, we're pretty much talking about those pillows and all the other evidence. One of the things that I noticed yesterday, and you were out of the courtroom, was, when those pillows were shown by John Jordan, he kind of went down like this with those pillows going through each juror. One of the jurors actually scoffed at, and kind of just, you could hear an audible like, ugh, and then he just turned at AJ, trying to see what AJ's demeanor was and trying to get in. I don't know if he was trying to get some eye contact from AJ or something, but there was a noticeable moment there. And there's also some other things that we picked up from the jurors throughout the whole trial. Let's talk about that for a little bit. What have you been noticing?
That juror you're talking about sits closest to where some of the media has been sitting the time. He's the most audible, I'll say. We hear him regularly, and that just might be a character trait. He talks to himself. I do that sometimes just to make sure I'm confirming things. So we take note of that. That's why we did so much pre-time. Before all of this started, we went and gone through the voir dire process so we can understand a little bit more background on some of these jurors. That allows us to understand when prosecutors and defense attorneys are asking certain questions, I immediately look at someone who might know. There's a guy who there on the jury who works in technology, so he understood all of the stuff with the alarm officials yesterday. I looked at him, he was nodding in his head because he understood what was happening. Then when we talk about Josh Armstrong, the older brother, who the defense is putting as a possible witness, and we talk about his mental health state. There's a woman on the jury who worked with children in mental health. So I look at her when those kind of questions are being asked. So we know a lot about these jurors. So whenever certain questions come up, we try and look at what their gauge is. Obviously, that's not telling us anything at this point, but it's allowing us to better paint the picture.
Right, and Rowan, I've been paying attention to the grandmothers, because you remember Letitia, our bench legal analyst, analyst. She was saying the grandmothers are going to play a big key in this whole thing. One of them, I can't tell where she stands. You know, but the other two, they seem to be on the fence. Like, one seems a little bit more pro-defense. The other one seems a little more prosecution. So, I mean, you can tell when they're engaging with these lawyers, especially John Jordan and Rick DeToto, because that seems to be the main ones that everybody's kind of locking in on. So these jurors, they have a lot to, you know, 75% of all communications nonverbal, and they are definitely being nonverbal with it. I don't think we can really tell who's actually got the upper hand right now, because both sides have had weaknesses and strengths.
And we saw a lot of that yesterday. I want to quickly talk about the alarm again, because Ryan Trask on the prosecutors, this was an effective point, I believe. So the prosecutors, or the defense at the time, was trying to talk about those rare occurrences on the alarm system that we've spoken about, saying that these are the issues. Well, right after then, there was a recross. Ryan Trask goes up, and he had a board with the time of when all of these rare occurrences, or the time of the night of, rather, the event itself. And then Ryan Trask was able to then use some text messages that we've reported on this week between AJ and his mom.
And the girlfriend.
And the girlfriend, Kate's now wife. One of those text messages was of Kate asking AJ to come out, sneak out of the home so he can pick her up from a party or some sort of event. He texts his parents asking permission. This is late at night. The parents don't text back. AJ sneaks out, and then there's all these text messages where later in the following morning, AJ's mom, Dawn, says the alarm system doesn't lie, you lie. And then that's when Ryan Trask, the prosecutor, had the alarm expert kind of explain all of this by showing the text message. I thought that was extremely effective.
Well, Rowan, I think we got to get going here, but let's just review today. You know, Jimmy James, he's going to be back on the stand. He's going to be talking about a lot of that evidence that he went and collected to bring forward for this trial. We expect other CSI folks to be there. We got to head back up to the courthouse. It's a really important day.
Amy, it's going to be, as Jason called it, the science day, so we are going to send things back to you as we head up for the fifth day.
Day 5.
Antonio AJ Armstrong third retrial.
All right. Jason and Rowan, thank you so much. I know that court everything gets underway at 8:30. So if you're enjoying our live updates of the in-depth coverage, you're really going to like a lot of the unique coverage of the trial that we have at the URL on the bottom of your screen. From a live blog of action inside the courtroom as our journalists are inside, to a playlist of video shorts explaining key legal concepts. You might hear words and wonder, what are they talking about? These sort of video shorts explain all of that. You can also watch our past episodes of The Bench on demand. You'll find all of that at click2houston.com/thebench.